Learning is not rushing. Not rattling through. Comprehend. Learn thoroughly. Study all aspects. Learning is the foundation of your professional career to come right along with you for a long time to come. So do our style of teaching.
Hi students. We are going to look at control accounts, our today's topic.
What is control account? Control account is also known as total account. As the word suggests, it is a total or summary account, not an individual account. Control accounts are maintained in general ledger, whereas individual accounts are maintained in subledger or subsidiary ledger. As a brief definition, we may say a control account is a summary level account in the general ledger. This account contains aggregated totals for transactions that are individually stored in subsidiary level ledger accounts.
Dear students, control accounts are part of double entry accounting, which states that any debit posted to the general ledger will have a corresponding credit posted to the general ledger as well. Entries to the individual accounts in subsidiary ledgers are also posted from prime entry books. Obviously part of double entry. As a rule, balances of control account and the aggregate balances of individual accounts should tally. We repeat. As a rule, balances of control account and the aggregate balances of individual accounts should tally.
Why control account? Why is it necessary to have control accounts? Dear students, assume that there are only a few debtors' accounts, for an example, accommodating them in the general ledger may not cause a problem. But if the number of debtors' accounts, say it is 600 to 700, imagine how bulky it would be if you keep them in the general ledger. So in order to relieve the general ledger from the bulky details, it has to be kept somewhere else. That place is subsidiary ledger. Therefore a link, that is a control account, is necessary.
There are other advantages in maintaining control accounts, which will be discussed later. Before that, we want to discuss how control accounts are practically maintained. Kindly look at this typical daybook. In this instance, it's a sales day book. Credit sales are entered in this book as usual. These are posted to the respective customer accounts in the subsidiary ledger. Kindly note, ledger folios are appearing on the third column. Then the amount column is totaled, and the journal entry shown below is made and posted to control account. Hope you have noticed both accounts shown in journal entry are in the general ledger. Kindly look at this typical daybook. In this instance, it's a purchases day book. Credit purchases are entered in this book as usual. These are posted to the respective supplier accounts in the subsidiary ledger. Kindly note, ledger folios are appearing on the third column. Then the amount column is totaled, and the journal entry shown below is made and posted to control account. Hope you have noticed both accounts shown in the journal entry are in the general ledger.
Dear students, debtors control account, sales ledger control account, accounts receivable control account, customers control account are all refer to the same account. Similarly, the other most commonly used control account is creditors control account. Okay. Creditors control account, purchases ledger control account, accounts payable control account, suppliers control account are all refer to the same account.
Dear students, let's look at how other entries into control accounts are made. For this purpose, cash book has to be specially designed. Ideally, a 4-column cash book. Please note, column 3 and 4 are made to facilitate control accounts. In the debit side, column 3 is for payments received from customers. As your note, first it is entered in column 1 and then extended to column 3. In case of discount paid, column 4 is used. Then column 3 and 4 are totaled and will be posted to the credit side of debtors' control account in the general ledger.
In the credit side, column 3 is for payments made to suppliers. As your note, first it is entered in column 2 and then extended to column 3. In case of discount received, column 4 is used. Then column 3 and 4 are totaled and will be posted to the debit side of creditors' control account in the general ledger.
We are sure by now students understand clearly. Rule of thumb 1. All entries in the debit side of the individual accounts will in the debit side of the respective control account, and all entries in the credit side of the individual accounts will in the credit side of the respective control account. Rule of thumb 2. The balances of control account in general ledger and the aggregate balances of individual accounts in subsidiary ledger should tally. In case of a disagreement, reconciliation will be made in order to correct errors.
Dear students, here you see a specimen of a typical sales ledger control account. You will note debits and credits shown in this account are as usually you see in a debtor's account, except the opening balances. Here you see two opening balances. One is a debit balance. Since debtor's account is an asset account, it is normal to have a debit balance. But you see credit balance as well. To distinguish, it called a minority or abnormal balance. A debtor's account can fall into credit balance due to various reasons. Here are some of them. For an example, a debtor overpays and leave it to set off the difference against future purchases. Customer returns the goods after making payment, and he used that credit for future purchases. Erroneous double payments.
In a good accounting practice, a majority account cannot allow to swallow the minority accounts. Submerge the accounts. It has to be maintained separately. Debtors' accounts with the debit balances and debtors' accounts with credit balances are listed separately. This makes a two opening balances situation.
Dear students, you see a typical purchases ledger control account. Everything said about sales ledger control account will be applicable to this account too. Of course, with the relevant changes.
The other unusual situation you see is set-off entries or contra entries. Mark the word contra entry. There can be situations where debtor can be a supplier as well on a different capacity. So, on one account we owe him money. In another account, he owes us money. His account may appear on both purchases ledger and sales ledger.
For an example, look at the accounts of same firm. In two different ledgers, will remain outstanding until one account is set off against the other. And this can be easily done through control accounts.
As we said earlier, let's look at some advantages of control account. In addition to relieving bulky details from general ledger, control accounts provide other advantages as well. 1. Control accounts provide a checking mechanism to detect errors and fraud at an early stage. How does it happen? When you have control account balances checked periodically with total of list of individual balances, it should tally. If you find any differences, an investigation will become necessary. That investigation should bring any errors, sometimes frauds, into light, which will lead to necessary corrective action. 2. To control and monitor total limits for sales and purchases. Control accounts can be useful As you would understand, keeping a tab on hundreds of moving individual accounts will be cumbersome. So in order to establish credit levels in total, say for credit sales or credit purchases, control account helps. 3. Control account balances can be used in trial balances and in other accounting reports. Imagine the chaos if you have to include hundreds of individual account balances when every time you extract a trial balance to prepare accounting information.
Dear students, now let's look at some questions. Mr. T proves the accuracy of sales and purchase ledger by preparing monthly control accounts. Sales ledger control account. Beginning of the period: debit 188,360. Credit 2,140. Credit sales 101,260. Returns inwards 9,160. Cash received from customers 91,270. Cash discount allowed 1,430. Irrecoverable debts written off 460. Contra settlement 480. Question. Enter them in sales ledger control account.
Now, let's answer. Remember, sales control account is only a summary account of individual debtors' accounts. If you keep this mindset, it will be easy to answer this question. Opening balance of a debtor's account. Since it is an asset account, it will be always debit. The minority balance, therefore, will be credit balance.
Sales account and income account. Therefore, it is credit. And debtors account debit.
Return inwards account is opposed to sales, a debit. And debtors account credit.
Cash received. Cash book debit. Debtors account, so does sales ledger account credit.
Discount allowed is an expenditure account, a debit. Therefore, debtors account credit.
Bad debts is a loss account, a debit. Therefore, debtors account credit.
Dear students, next is a contra entry. Set off entry. Purchases control account. A creditor's account will always have credit balance. In order to clear that account, it has been debited. Therefore, debtor's account has to be credited.
Since nothing had been said about the minority opening balance of 2,140, we repeat it as closing balance. Dear students, we hope the answer is clear.
Dear students, now let's look at another similar question. Purchase ledger control account. Beginning of the period: debit 89,410, credit 120. Credit purchases 68,420. Returns outwards 4,280. Cash paid to suppliers 71,480. Cash discount received 880. Contra settlement 480. Prepare a purchase control account.
Now, let's answer. Remember, purchases control account is only a summary account of individual creditors' accounts. If you keep this in mind, it will be easy to answer this question. Opening balance of a creditor's account. Since it is a liability account, it will always be credit. The minority balance, therefore, will be a debit balance.
Next, purchases and expenditure will be a debit. Therefore, creditors account credit.
Return outwards account is opposed to purchases, a credit. And creditors account debit.
Cash paid to suppliers, cash book credit. Creditors account debit.
Cash discount received. An income, therefore credit. Creditors account debit.
Dear students, Next is a contra entry. Set-off entry. Sales control account. A debtor's account will always have debit balance. In order to clear that account, it has to be credited. Therefore, creditor's account, debit.
Since nothing had been said about the minority opening balance of 120, we repeat it as closing balance. Hope the answer is clear.
Okay, students. We end this session for the time being. If you have enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, share. We have more than 30 videos in our YouTube channel and many more are to come in next few days. Keep following us. Our YouTube address is SL Accounts School. SL Accounts School. Thank you.